Rain lashed against the library windows, the storm outside a relentless symphony of nature's fury. John, nose buried in a worn copy of Dickens, barely noticed the tempest. The world outside could have been falling apart, and he wouldn't have cared. He loved the smell of old books, the way they whispered secrets from ages past, each page a portal to another time, another place. He ambled down a row, fingers tracing spines, feeling the history embedded in each one. The library was his sanctuary, a place where time stood still. At the very end, tucked behind a shelf, lay a book unlike any other. It was hidden, almost as if it didn't want to be found. Bound in black leather, cold to the touch, it seemed to pulse faintly. John pulled it free, feeling a strange connection to this mysterious tome. The book had no title, just an unsettling emptiness that seemed to draw him in, compelling him to explore its depths. As John brushed off the dust, a whisper seemed to rise from the book itself, a voice from another realm beckoning him. It spoke of forbidden knowledge, of power beyond human comprehension, secrets that had been buried for centuries. Intrigued, John opened the cover, his heart pounding with anticipation and a hint of fear. The pages were thin, almost translucent, the writing elegant yet utterly alien. It was as if the book was written in a language not meant for human eyes. He couldn't understand a word, but he felt the weight of its meaning, the gravity of the knowledge it contained. It was a puzzle, a mystery that demanded to be solved. He flipped through the pages, each one filled with intricate diagrams and cryptic symbols. Then he saw it. On the very last page, scrawled in a language he instinctively understood, were the words, "Do not, under any circumstance, read this page aloud." A chill shot down John's spine. Why was this warning here? What could be so terrible about reading a single page? He closed the book, suddenly uneasy. The library, once a sanctuary, now felt oppressive. The air grew thick, heavy. John placed the book back on the shelf, attempting to ignore the pull he felt towards its unsettling depths. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. John couldn't shake the memory of the book. It lingered in his mind like a shadow, always present, always whispering. The warning echoed in his dreams, a constant reminder of the danger that lay within those pages. He found himself drawn back to the library, unable to resist the allure of the unknown. Each step he took felt like a step closer to uncovering a hidden truth. He tried to focus on other books, to lose himself in their familiar words, but the black book haunted his thoughts. It was as if it had a life of its own, calling out to him. He knew it was foolish, reckless even, but the urge to understand, to unlock the secrets hidden within the book's pages consumed him. The more he resisted, the stronger the pull became. He told himself it was just curiosity, but deep down he knew it was something more. It was an obsession, a need to uncover the truth no matter the cost. The book called to him, whispered promises of power. It spoke of knowledge beyond his wildest dreams, of secrets that could change everything. John stood at a crossroads, torn between the safety of ignorance and the perilous path of discovery. The choice was his, but the consequences were unknown. With a deep breath he reached out, his fingers trembling as they brushed against the book's cover. The decision was made, and there was no turning back. The rain returned, mirroring the storm brewing inside John. He found himself standing before the shelf, the black book practically vibrating in the dim light. He reached out, his fingers trembling, and pulled it down. The book fell open to the last page. The words seemed to writhe before his eyes. He knew he shouldn't, knew it was madness, but he couldn't help himself. His lips moved, forming the words, the sounds escaping his mouth before he could stop them. He read the last page aloud. The air crackled with tension. The library plunged into an unnatural, eerie silence. Then a low hum resonated from the ancient book, growing louder, morphing into a guttural, sinister growl. John's blood ran cold. Shadows stretched from the book, twisting, taking on monstrous, terrifying shapes. Whispers slithered around him, voices laced with malice, ancient hunger, and dark intent. He slammed the book shut, his heart pounding fiercely against his ribs. But it was too late. The shadows had already been unleashed. They swirled around him, their whispers growing louder, more menacing and inescapable. Panic seized John. He stumbled back, knocking over a bookshelf. Books spilled onto the floor, their pages rustling like frantic wings. The shadows coiled tighter, constricting his chest, stealing his breath. He tried to scream, but no sound escaped his lips. He was trapped, drowning in a sea of darkness. He thrashed against the shadows, but they held him fast. They whispered of forgotten gods, of unspeakable rituals, their voices seeping into his mind, poisoning his thoughts. The library, once a place of solace, had become his prison. He was theirs now, a plaything for forces beyond his understanding. A glimmer of hope. As darkness threatened to consume him, a memory flickered. A passage from a forgotten book, a legend about creatures of shadow and their vulnerability to light. John scrambled for his lighter, his fingers closing around its familiar shape. He flicked it on. The shadows recoiled from the tiny flame, hissing like water on hot coals. John held the lighter high, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness. It wouldn't last long. He needed a way out, a way to banish the shadows permanently. Despair's embrace. His gaze fell on the book, still clutched in his other hand. The source of the horror. He considered destroying it, but a chilling thought stopped him. What if the shadows were bound to the book's existence? Destroying it might unleash something far worse. He was trapped. The shadows pressed in, the heat from the lighter dwindling. John closed his eyes, accepting his fate. He had been a fool to ignore the warning, a fool to think he could control something so ancient, so powerful. A cruel twist of fate. A cold laughter echoed around him, chilling him to the bone. "You misunderstand," a voice whispered close to his ear. It was not the guttural growl of the shadows, but something smoother, more insidious. "You were meant to read it. You were chosen." John's eyes flew open. Chosen? For what? Before he could demand an answer, the shadows surged forward, engulfing him completely. He braced himself for oblivion, but instead felt a searing pain lance through his head. Then everything went black. The book's true purpose. John woke with a gasp, his heart pounding in his chest. He was lying on the library floor, surrounded by scattered books and papers. The book was gone, vanished without a trace. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the room, illuminating the dust particles that danced in the air. Had it all been a dream? The vivid images, the whispers, the feeling of an ancient power coursing through him, it all felt so real. He slowly got to his feet, his head pounding as if it had been split open. Then he saw it. His reflection in the window no longer showed his own eyes, but 2 points of crimson red, burning with an unholy light. They seemed to pierce through his very soul. He was the book's new vessel, its power coursing through his veins, filling him with a dark energy he couldn't comprehend. The book hadn't released a horror upon the world. It had simply been waiting for a new host, a new voice to wield its terrifying power. It had chosen him. John was no longer just a man. He could feel the transformation beginning, his humanity slipping away. He was something far more sinister. And the worst part, the part that gnawed at his remaining sense of self, he kind of liked it. The power, the control, the sheer force of the darkness within him, it was intoxicating. He felt invincible, unstoppable, and for the first time in his life truly alive.